Hey everybody, I'm Jack, and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Welcome to the weekend chat. Hope your weekend is going well. By the time you're watching this, I will be in my Airbnb in Pensacola, having a good time, getting away from the day-to-day routine. Not that I have a huge routine. Anyhow, today I've got a few things to talk about, just kind of free flow a little bit. I want to talk about surrender to the flow, 1 year of meditation, and how to establish a meditation practice in 30 days. Yes, 30 days. No gimmicks. I do videos every day, so if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button now. Then click on that little bell and make sure and check send notifications so you'll get updates and stay subscribed to the channel. I got into this this flow of thought, pardon the pun, surrender to the flow last night when I was doing a little after my meditation, and I watched a great show on Netflix. If you haven't seen On Meditation on Netflix, I really enjoyed that, and just kind of started thinking about the last few days. Actually, I've been thinking about the whole surrender to the flow of things. And I found a reading this morning. You know, as I always do, I always like to Google and search on YouTube a lot of these things just to see other thoughts out there, because I always pick up something interesting that I really like. And I picked up something today that I actually think I'm going to buy this book. It's called Surrender to the Flow, and it's got another part of the title, but this is just kind of a little description of it, and I like this, so I thought I would share it with you. Getting into the flow is a state of being when you drop out of the rational, linear thinking mind and enter a way of being that happens in the dynamic present moment. It is a place where time doesn't exist and where originality is born. This dynamic flow can be called our intuition, our higher self, source, or the zone. But it is the place where the little self drops and a higher intelligence seems to guide and direct, where it becomes not my will, but thy will. Any lack that exists of any kind, whether it be lack of health, lack of money, or lack of inner peace, is because we have gotten out of the flow. Using creativity such as writing, photography, dancing, singing, and drawing can be a powerful tool of a catalyst to bring awareness, help us get out of the way of ourselves and back into the flow of life. Now this kind of resonates, like I say, with my meditation practice, because I tend to find that when we really just start getting quieter and quieter, that we start understanding this and we get closer to getting back in the flow. You know, I get so close, you know, and where this kind of ties in with me doing 1 year of meditation. You know, I've learned a lot about myself over a year of meditation. And one thing I can tell you after a year of meditation, I'm still very much a baby. I'm just getting started. I've just sitting daily for a year has basically just kind of given me a glimpse. But I see where I want to go, or I want to go further. I want to go deeper. And, you know, I'm actually starting to kind of not change my meditation practice, but add to my meditation practice. I actually have found a mantra that I like feel the flow of. I'm kind of overdoing the flow thing, but it just kind of keeps popping into my mouth. But I feel a mantra, like I've been looking for a mantra for a while, you know, to do some mantra based meditation. And I don't know, I've found mantras that I find meaningful, but they just don't roll off the tongue. They just don't have that, you know, natural rhythm to them. And then I've found ones that kind of have a rhythm to them where you can get into the, you know, doing it, but those particular ones don't have that much of a meaning for me. So I found one I think that does have a meaning for me. Now I'm going to jump around a little bit here. Anytime I talk about surrender, that just irks some people, because I think they don't quite understand that. When we talk about surrender, we're not talking about giving up. We're not talking about doing nothing. For me, it's just more or less like just not beating our head against the wall and not worrying about things beyond our control. you know, sometimes with this new business venture, and then it's kind of just, you know, new things are happening with that, and I've got other things going on, I can get a little overwhelmed at time, and I'm worrying, and even I'll sit in meditation, and it takes me a while to kind of quiet down, because I'm thinking about this thing and I'm running through. I'm like, oh my God, what if I need to get this done? Oh, I need to get this done quick, and I feel the rush and whatever. And then I'm just like, whoa, 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 and I stop everything. I step back and take a little breath, and I'm like, you know what? This is not helping anything. And for me, surrender it's just realizing that, you know, I do the best I can. I do everything I can. I try to be proactive about the things I feel it's appropriate to be proactive about. But after that point, it's time to just surrender to the process, to the universe, to God, to the source, whatever you want to call it, and trust in the process that you follow for anything. You know, trust that if you do the work, or if you do the right things and you put yourself in the right places, you know, everything else will work itself out. And the stuff that you can't really do anything about anyway, it's just not, you know, it's just not worth, worrying yourself about. And I hear people, I've mentioned themes like this before, and it's strange. People, once you've identified it, I would think it would be easy just to kind of like, okay, now you've identified this, so deal with it. But people are like, oh yeah, but I can't. I see it all the time. I'll have a conversation and somebody is like, yeah, I know that, but. And I'm like, well, no, there's really no but. And you find such a peace when you let go of the things that you don't have the control over, the situations, you know, that you can't really do that much about. Let's see, what else, that last part of it, 1 year, like 30 days, to establishing a practice in 30 days. Okay, here's a real little simple one for you, and this is going to be a short video today. This is basically how I started my practice a year ago when I first decided, okay, I'm going to establish a daily practice. After all this time of talking about it, after thinking about it, I'm going to establish a daily practice. Well, what I had done before is it was always like, okay, I'm going to meditate, and I would set these periods of time, and like I'm going to meditate for half an hour, or even like starting from the beginning saying I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes. That was always a long time to me. And what would happen is I'd meditate, and I might meditate, you know, for a week at a time, or sometimes 4 or 5 days. But then there would come that day, and it would be like I simply wouldn't go meditate at all, because something I just felt like, oh, I can't meditate for 20 minutes, or my mind's too busy, or I'm just too stirred up that I don't feel like I'm going to meditate for the time that I had allotted at the time. So when I started my practice a year ago, I just started with this attitude of that, especially until it got established and until it got to be a practice, I just had to show up every day. And that's what I'll challenge you to do if you're interested. I've heard, you know, I know people are always saying, oh, I'd like to read more about this. They're interested, but don't necessarily know what to do. Or maybe they're intimidated for the same reason, like, well, I just can't sit down for this amount of time. 30 days, just decide that you're going to show up every day. However you sit, and I'll be honest with you, I have this weird little back issue that doesn't cause me any problem except when I'm trying to sit up. So I've been meditating in a chair for the past few months with a straight back. But whether you sit on the floor, or whether you go to the floor, or whether you sit in a chair, wherever your place is, just decide that for the next 30 days, you're going to show up every day. You're going to show up. I would say, you know, do something, don't make that, you know, try not to do that, but even if there's a day where you just go there, get in your chair, and you don't do anything, you just get there and you're like, okay, but you actually made the physical effort to go and get into that place, and that is establishing patterns, that's establishing paths in the brain, and that will grow. But I mean, realistically, like, and you know, most people would have a problem if you can't sit at least for a minute. I'd say at least try to get there and sit for a minute. But for 30 days, don't worry about how long you sit. Just make sure that you get there every day. Now, if you start showing up every day after day after day, there's going to be days where you do, you know, you meditate. 15, 20 minutes, maybe even longer, maybe less, maybe 10 minutes, but still that's okay. But after 30 days, see how that works for you. See how that habit has become kind of a habit now. See how you sort of feel that pull, like you need to actually meditate. One last little thing, and I'll leave it with you, is I don't follow. I'm trying again. Like I keep trying to make it a regular thing in the morning, but sometimes I have to default in the evening. I do find it's best to start establishing that if you somewhat have, you try to have a certain time of day or a period of the day. It doesn't have to be the exact same time, but anyhow, a year of meditation, I mean, it's just brought a whole lot to my life. I know I go on and on about it sometimes, but I can't stress enough how many different aspects that it can bring into your life, you know. But anyhow, try it out for yourself. Hope you guys enjoyed this one today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Love you guys. Peace.